What if one of the most overlooked coins in America has been hiding in plain sight for decades? Millions of people have spent it without a second thought, dropped it into vending machines, or left it forgotten in old jars. But the 1980 Philadelphia Jefferson nickel has a story far more fascinating than its 5-cent face value. And while ordinary examples are common, a tiny number with extraordinary minting errors have become prized by collectors, reminding us that sometimes the smallest details make the biggest difference. The 1980 Jefferson nickel was struck during a period when the United States Mint was producing enormous numbers of coins to meet everyday demand. Philadelphia alone minted hundreds of millions of nickels that year. Unlike today's coins, those struck in Philadelphia during 1980 carried no P mint mark. That means if you have a 1980 nickel without a mint mark, it was produced in Philadelphia. It's a simple detail, but one that often surprises new collectors. On the front, the coin features Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers and the nation's third president. His portrait has appeared on the nickel since 1938, replacing the famous Buffalo nickel. Turn the coin over, and you'll find Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate, a symbol of architecture, knowledge, and American history. Every ordinary nickel carries that familiar design, but not every nickel shares the same destiny. Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Most 1980 Philadelphia nickels are worth only face value or a modest premium in brilliant uncirculated condition. Yet collectors aren't chasing ordinary examples. They're searching for the rare mistakes created during the minting process. Coins with dramatic off-center strikes, broad strikes, double dies confirmed by experts, or major die breaks can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on their rarity, condition, and demand. Imagine opening an old coin jar and spotting what looks like an ordinary nickel. Then you notice the design is strangely doubled, or the coin wasn't struck perfectly in the center. Suddenly, that forgotten piece of pocket change becomes the subject of careful examination under magnification. That's the thrill of coin collecting. It's a modern treasure hunt where knowledge often matters more than luck. Over the years, rumors have spread across the internet claiming that ordinary 1980 Philadelphia nickels are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Those stories capture attention, but they don't reflect the reality of today's numismatic market. There is no verified record of a normal 1980 Philadelphia Jefferson nickel selling for anywhere near $926,000. Exceptional prices are reserved for coins with extraordinary characteristics, remarkable preservation, or historically significant mint errors that have been authenticated by professional grading services. So how do you know if your coin deserves a closer look? Examine the date and lettering for unusual doubling. Check whether the strike is properly centered. Look for cracks, missing design elements, or other dramatic mint errors. Most importantly, if you discover something truly unusual, consider having it authenticated by a respected professional grading service before assuming its value. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson hidden inside this humble 5-cent coin. Its real worth isn't found in sensational headlines, but in the incredible journey it represents. It connects us to American history, the craftsmanship of the United States Mint, and the excitement of discovering something genuinely rare where nobody else thought to look. The next time a Jefferson nickel lands in your hand, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look. Because while most are simply 5 cents, every great treasure hunt begins with someone willing to notice what everyone else overlooks. What if one of the most overlooked coins in America has been hiding in plain sight for more than 4 decades? Millions of people have handled it without a second thought, tossing it into jars, cup holders, and vending machines. But among the countless ordinary examples of the 1982 D. Jefferson nickel, a tiny handful with extraordinary minting errors have turned an everyday 5-cent coin into one of the most exciting modern collectibles. So what makes this humble nickel so fascinating? And could one still be waiting to be discovered? The story begins in 1982 at the Denver Mint, where hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels bearing the D Mint mark were struck. America was facing economic challenges, inflation had reshaped daily life, and the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson continued to symbolize one of the nation's founding ideals. On the reverse, Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, stood proudly as it had since the coin's introduction in 1938, connecting every nickel to a remarkable chapter of American history. At first glance, the 1982 Jefferson nickel appears completely ordinary. It was produced in enormous numbers, making most examples worth only their face value or a modest premium in uncirculated condition. That might sound disappointing, but this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Collectors aren't searching for ordinary coins. They're hunting for the extraordinary mistakes that occasionally escaped the mint's quality control. A dramatic off-center strike. A broad strike with no raised rim. A double die showing unusual design doubling. A rare die crack or a major clipped planchet. These mint errors transform common coins into unique historical artifacts because no two errors are exactly alike. Imagine finding one while searching through an old coin jar inherited from a grandparent. First, it looks like just another nickel. Then you notice something unusual. The letters don't seem quite right. The design is shifted. The rim looks incomplete. Suddenly, what seemed insignificant demands a closer look. That's the thrill of coin collecting. It's not simply about money. It's about discovery. Every unusual coin tells the story of a split second inside a minting press where something unexpected happened. Instead of being melted down or destroyed, that imperfect coin entered circulation and quietly waited for someone curious enough to recognize it. Today, certified examples of 1982 Jefferson nickels with significant, authenticated mint errors can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the rarity and severity of the error. Exceptional pieces with outstanding preservation and dramatic errors have achieved impressive auction prices. However, claims that an ordinary 1982 Jefferson nickel is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars are not supported by reputable auction records. Any extraordinary valuation would require an exceptionally rare, authenticated error or other unique characteristic verified by professional grading services. So the next time you receive change, don't ignore that little nickel. Look closely at the date. Check for the Denver Mint mark. Examine the lettering, the portrait, and the image of Monticello. You may not uncover a fortune, but you might discover a fascinating piece of American minting history that has gone unnoticed for decades. After all, the greatest treasure hunters don't always search in ancient ruins or beneath the ocean. Sometimes they simply pay attention to the coins everyone else walks right past. And perhaps the next incredible discovery is already sitting in someone's pocket, just waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize its hidden story. What if the next coin hiding in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or even your pocket change turned out to be far more interesting than you ever imagined? The 1998 Jefferson nickel may look like an ordinary 5-cent coin, but its story reveals how history, craftsmanship, and the thrill of the hunt continue to captivate collectors across America. While millions were produced and most are worth only face value, a handful with extraordinary minting errors or exceptional preservation have become prized discoveries that remind us why treasure hunters never stop looking. The story begins in Denver, Colorado, where the United States Mint struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels in 1998. The small D mint mark beside Thomas Jefferson's portrait identifies its birthplace. At first glance, there's nothing flashy about this coin. It carries the familiar portrait of America's third president on the front and his beloved home, Monticello, on the reverse, a design that had represented the Jefferson nickel for decades. But why Monticello? The answer reaches back to Jefferson himself. More than just a president, Jefferson was a scholar, architect, inventor, and one of the principal authors of the Declaration of Independence. His Virginia estate became a symbol of knowledge, innovation, and the ideals of a young nation. Every time someone spent a Jefferson nickel, they unknowingly carried a tiny piece of American history. Here's where the mystery begins. If hundreds of millions were made, why do collectors still search through rolls of 1998 nickels today? The answer lies in the rare exceptions. During the minting process, tiny mistakes occasionally escaped quality control. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, double dies, die cracks, and dramatic die breaks can transform an ordinary coin into something collectors eagerly pursue. These genuine mint errors are uncommon and often require expert authentication before they command significant premiums. Then there's the condition factor. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a numerical scale, and a nearly flawless example can be dramatically more valuable than one with everyday wear. A coin that survived decades without scratches, discoloration, or circulation damage becomes a remarkable survivor in its own right. Perhaps that's what makes coin collecting so addictive. Every handful of change carries possibility. Most coins will never become valuable collectibles, but every now and then, someone uncovers an overlooked rarity that has quietly waited for years to be recognized. It's also important to separate excitement from reality. Despite sensational claims you may see online, an ordinary 1998 D Jefferson nickel is not worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The vast majority remain worth only 5 cents, while collectible examples with certified rare errors or exceptional grades can be worth considerably more than face value, sometimes reaching hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their rarity and market demand. Claims of a 1998 D nickel being worth $978,000 are not supported for normal circulation coins. So the next time you receive change at the grocery store or empty your pockets onto the table, don't dismiss those nickels too quickly. Look closely. Check the mint mark. Examine every detail. You may not uncover a fortune, but you'll discover something equally fascinating. A connection to American history that has quietly traveled through countless hands for more than a quarter of a century. And who knows? The greatest treasure hunters all have one thing in common. They keep looking long after everyone else has stopped. Have you ever reached into your pocket, pulled out a simple nickel, and wondered if you were holding something far more valuable than 5 cents? It sounds unbelievable, but one ordinary-looking 1999 D Thomas Jefferson nickel has sparked incredible excitement among collectors. While millions of these coins were made, a tiny handful with extraordinary minting errors and exceptional preservation have become the kind of discoveries that coin hunters dream about. So what transforms an everyday nickel into a legendary collectible? To understand the fascination, we have to travel back to 1999. America was preparing for a new millennium, and the Denver Mint was producing millions of Jefferson nickels for everyday commerce. The familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson had appeared on the 5-cent coin since 1938, honoring the third president of the United States and the author of the Declaration of Independence. On the reverse stood Monticello, Jefferson's beautiful Virginia estate, a symbol of American architecture, innovation, and history. At first glance, the 1999 D Jefferson nickel seems completely ordinary. More than $500 million were struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark beside Jefferson's portrait. Most entered circulation immediately, passing from cash registers to piggy banks with little attention. Yet hidden among those millions were coins unlike any others. Collectors soon began searching for unusual minting errors. Some examples displayed dramatic off-center strikes, while others revealed doubled lettering created when the coin die shifted slightly during production. A few rare pieces featured die cracks, clipped planchets, or striking mistakes that made them one of a kind. These aren't simply damaged coins. They're genuine mint-made errors, accidental creations born during the manufacturing process. But here's where the story becomes even more fascinating. Condition can matter just as much as rarity. Most 1999 D nickels spent years in circulation, collecting scratches, dents, and wear. However, a tiny number survived in virtually flawless condition. Professional grading services award these coins extremely high mint state grades, and at the highest levels, the difference between one grade and the next can mean thousands of dollars in value. Could one of these remarkable nickels really be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? Stories circulating online often mention astonishing figures approaching $979,000. In reality, no publicly verified sale of a 1999 D Jefferson nickel has reached that amount. The highest prices are typically associated with extraordinary mint errors or exceptionally preserved specimens, but even then, confirmed auction records are far below those sensational claims. It's a reminder that excitement should always be balanced with careful research and authenticated sales records. Still, that doesn't make the hunt any less thrilling. Imagine discovering an unusual nickel in an old collection, a forgotten coin jar, or a family inheritance. What if it displayed an obvious doubling, an off-center strike, or another authentic mint error? What if it had somehow remained untouched for decades? Those possibilities keep collectors searching through rolls of nickels every single day. Perhaps that's the greatest mystery of coin collecting. The true treasure isn't always the highest price tag. It's the excitement of holding history in your hand, knowing that an ordinary object may carry an extraordinary story. Every Jefferson nickel passed through countless hands, witnessed everyday moments, and quietly survived as part of America's history. So the next time you receive change, don't dismiss that little 5-cent coin too quickly. Look closely at the date. Find the tiny D mint mark. Examine every detail. Because while most 1999 D Jefferson nickels are worth only face value, the next remarkable discovery could still be waiting to surprise the person willing to take a second look. And that's exactly why the search never truly ends. What if the ordinary-looking nickel sitting in your pocket right now has a story that stretches back more than 2 centuries? Most people would spend it without a second thought. But collectors know that even modern coins can hide fascinating history, surprising varieties, and the thrill of an unexpected discovery. Today, we're taking a closer look at the 2006 D. Thomas Jefferson Monticello nickel, a coin that millions of Americans have handled but very few have truly appreciated. At first glance, the 2006 D nickel seems completely ordinary. Struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark, it features a forward-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse. This portrait marked a new chapter in the Jefferson nickel series after the celebrated Westward Journey redesigns of 2004 and 2005. In 2006, the United States Mint returned Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate, to the reverse while introducing an entirely new portrait created by artist Jamie Franke. But why did this coin matter? The Jefferson nickel has been part of American history since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel and honoring one of the nation's founding fathers. Jefferson was more than the third president of the United States. He was the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, an architect, an inventor, and a passionate believer in education and liberty. His beloved home, Monticello, became the perfect symbol to represent his lifelong legacy. The 2006 redesign blended America's past with a modern artistic approach. It gave collectors something fresh while preserving one of the most recognizable landmarks ever placed on a circulating U.S. coin. Now here's where things become truly interesting. Although hundreds of millions of 2060 nickels were produced, not every example is created equal. Most are worth only face value or a small premium in circulated condition. However, exceptionally preserved coins certified in the highest mint state grades can command significantly higher prices. Even more desirable are coins displaying dramatic minting errors, such as major off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, or rare double dies confirmed by professional grading experts. Stories of valuable error coins have fueled treasure hunters for decades. Imagine finding a rare mint error while searching through a simple bankroll. It's happened before, and that's exactly why collectors continue examining nickels one by one. The excitement isn't just about money. It's about discovering something almost everyone else overlooked. You may have heard sensational claims online suggesting an ordinary 2006 D Jefferson nickel is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even as much as $979,000. Those headlines certainly grab attention, but there is no verified public sale of a normal 2006 D nickel anywhere near that amount. Extraordinary prices are generally reserved for one-of-a-kind mint errors, unique circumstances, or exceptionally rare coins with documented provenance. That's why careful research and professional authentication are so important before celebrating a life-changing discovery. Perhaps that's the greatest mystery of coin collecting. The real treasure isn't always the rarest coin ever made. Sometimes it's the journey of learning history, understanding craftsmanship, and realizing that every coin carries a story from the moment it leaves the mint. So the next time a nickel lands in your hand, don't rush to spend it. Turn it over. Look closely at the mint mark. Study the details of Monticello. You might not uncover a fortune, but you'll hold a remarkable piece of American history. And who knows, your next pocketful of change could contain the discovery that every collector dreams about. If you enjoy uncovering hidden stories behind everyday coins, be sure to subscribe, because the next incredible treasure could already be waiting in your pocket. What if the ordinary-looking nickel hiding in your pocket was actually part of a story stretching back more than 200 years? Most people spend it without a second thought. But for collectors, one small detail can turn an everyday coin into a fascinating piece of American history. Today, we're uncovering the truth behind the 2010 Thomas Jefferson Monticello nickel, a coin surrounded by curiosity, misunderstood by many, and occasionally linked to remarkable collector discoveries. At first glance, the 2010 Jefferson nickel doesn't seem extraordinary. Produced at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark, it features the modern portrait of Thomas Jefferson introduced in 2006. On the reverse stands Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate, a symbol of architecture, innovation, and one of America's founding fathers. But here's the question that keeps collectors searching through rolls of change. Could an ordinary 2010 nickel actually be worth far more than 5 cents? To answer that, we need to travel back through history. The Jefferson nickel first entered circulation in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, it honored America's third president and remained one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Over the decades, the series witnessed wartime silver compositions, major design updates, and countless minting varieties that continue to excite collectors today. By 2010, the United States Mint had returned to the familiar Monticello reverse after the bicentennial redesigns celebrating the Lewis and Clark expedition. Millions of 2010 nickels were struck, making the standard version a common circulation coin. Most examples are worth only face value, or a small premium in uncirculated condition. So why all the excitement? Because every now and then, modern coins emerge with genuine mint errors. Collectors have discovered examples featuring dramatic off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and other manufacturing mistakes. While most are modestly valuable, exceptional, and authenticated errors in pristine condition can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on their rarity and demand. That's where the treasure hunt begins. Imagine sorting through an old jar of change inherited from a family member. One coin catches your eye. The lettering seems unusual. The strike looks slightly off. Is it damage from circulation, or could it be a genuine mint error? That single moment of curiosity has launched countless collectors into a lifelong passion. Stories like these remind us that collecting isn't only about money. It's about discovery. Every coin has traveled through countless hands, surviving recessions, celebrations, road trips, family businesses, and everyday purchases. Each scratch and mark tells part of an invisible journey across America. You may have seen headlines claiming a 2010 Jefferson nickel is worth as much as $979,000. While extraordinary prices can occur for unique numismatic rarities under exceptional circumstances, there is no verified public record of a regular 2010 Jefferson nickel selling for that amount. Any coin claimed to be worth an extraordinary sum should always be authenticated and professionally graded before assumptions are made. So the next time a nickel lands in your hand, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look at the date, the mint mark, and the quality of the strike. You might not uncover a six-figure treasure, but you could discover a fascinating mint error, a beautiful uncirculated example, or perhaps the beginning of an unforgettable collecting journey. After all, history doesn't always hide inside museums. Sometimes, it waits quietly in your pocket, hoping someone curious enough will finally stop and look. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden stories behind America's coins, make sure to subscribe, because the next incredible discovery could be closer than you think.